Okay, hello again. This is now tarot lesson number 66, and I have 5 points: building, astrology, tarot, journal, truth, and the Seven of Swords, Three of Cups. So the reason I wrote down building is because I'm in a basement here, and for years we had a hairline crack in the wall below the window, but now this hairline crack has become 1/4 of an inch wide, and it goes down into the basement area. So we need excavation and who knows what, a membrane, but they also need to get into the wall from the inside. So they're taking out the wall and part of the ceiling, and they're going to have to drill down into the floor, all of which is going to happen when it happens. And we don't know for sure when that's going to be. So the reason I'm telling you all this is, if I say there's going to be a new video on Thursday or Friday and it doesn't appear, it's because there was drilling or because there had to be a change. So I'm just letting you know, if over the next couple of weeks or however longer I'm not on schedule, there are reasons for it. So maybe you hit the notification bell and you'll be notified when a new video appears. That's it. So the second point was, somebody left a comment. I imagine it's because I mentioned the zodiac, and I think it was a he, wanted to know if this was about astrology or the tarot. So I wanted to talk a little bit about astrology and the tarot, partly because I think I'm going to put online an astrology course over the next short period. I'm not sure exactly how to do it or how I'll go about doing it, but I think I'm going to go ahead, and I'll let you know more about that. But the thing is, astrology and the tarot are different, and I want to explain what I think is going on. Because if you think about it, the planets were here circulating the Earth, or we were all orbiting the sun for thousands of years before there were ever people. So astrology, okay, words that end in ology, O-L-O-G-Y, mean the study of, right? So you get biology, the study of living things, from bios, which I think is Greek for life or living. And then you get archaeology, the study of first things, because arche means first, and that's why an archetype is the first type. So astrology is the study of the stars. But as I was taught years ago, astrology is really the philosophy of the gods. It's not just a tool that people use to figure out what's going wrong or how to go about fixing something. It's the philosophy of the gods, which means there are gods, there are forces that we can't really know completely. And this isn't just their behavior, it's their philosophy, their understanding of life. And I think that's what astrology is. And this is why so much of what passes for astrology on the internet and in modern writing is so, I don't know what the word is. It's so lackadaisical, too easygoing. Whereas the tarot was developed by people for people. It's not the stars out there and we see starlight, but it began to be transmitted light years ago. It's not like the present. It's thousands or hundreds or thousands of years ago. That's what you're looking at when you look at the sky. So with the tarot, we know that we have bias, right? So we see what we expect to see, or we see what we're looking for, and there's this idea of confirmation bias. So I'm expecting something to happen, and it happens. That just proves I was right, or it proves that I was right to be worried or whatever it happens to be. Or people come along and confirm what I thought. But just because other people confirm it doesn't mean it's true or that it's real or it's right. So this is partly why they say you shouldn't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. Because when you're hungry, everything looks attractive. But your way of looking at things has changed because you feel hungry. And so you end up buying stuff and then you get home and you unpack it and you think, why did I ever buy this? Because I'm never going to eat it, or I don't even like it, or it looked good at the moment. And that's why when you're standing at the checkout and you look around, there's all sorts of chocolate bars there and stuff like that. And you think, oh, well, maybe I'll just take a couple of those. And we can think that packaging is just packaging, but lots of money and research goes into how a product is packaged. And so if you're standing at a checkout and you see a Mars bar and you're hungry, you pick up the Mars bar because the name Mars is written in red. And you think you're buying the Mars bar because you like Mars bars, but you're buying the Mars bar because some psychologist somewhere realized that printing names in red or including red in the packaging makes the product more appealing and people are more likely to buy it. So you're being manipulated whether you know or not. So because of all this is going on Earth, the tarot is beautiful and useful because it's random. You know, it gets you out of your normal way of thinking, or it gets you thinking outside the box, as they say. So how is this relationship going to go? And you pick a card and you get the Temperance card. It's going to go well because there's an angel involved. It's going to be spiritually uplifting. It's going to be educational. You're going to learn a lot from each other. You're going to learn a lot about life and all the rest of it. Whereas if it's Temperance upside down, that's what you want to learn, but you're not going to learn it. It's not going to work out the way you think. And so you have an idea, this relationship is going to go well, and you wonder, is it? And you get the Page of Cups reversed. You think it's going to go well, but you're fantasizing about it. So maybe with the Page of Cups reversed, what you do is you make sure both feet are firmly planted on the ground, and you go into the relationship with both eyes open, because at this point you're going into it with both eyes closed and not seeing what's going on. And this is what's valuable, I think, about the tarot. And to lead into the next bit, which I think is journal. Yes. Okay, so this broken wall that we've got is kind of stressful. Not knowing what's going to happen is the worst bit. And I could pick a card and okay, but anyway, so I was awake at 4 o'clock this morning and I was thinking about what I was going to do in this video. So let's say you're going along a road, right? You're going through life and then you fall down. Things go wrong, or you end up having to fight your way back or climb your way back to the surface, and you continue on a little bit more. And then you go up, and maybe you get halfway up and you reach a plateau, and things coast along much the same as they've been going along, but then you get bored with it, so you come back here and you continue climbing. And at this point, maybe you have an aha moment. You have a moment of inspiration, or you understand something you've never understood before. Or maybe at this point you realize how grateful you are that things are actually pretty good for you. And so, but you realize that you can't stay up here separate from the world. You've got to come back down to the world again. And then you decide, okay, well, I don't like it down here. I'm going to go back up. And so you climb up again, and you go maybe a little bit higher than you were at this point. But you realize that at this point, it's all been straight lines, but you can go back from where you came, but you can go in a roundabout way. Right? It doesn't have to be straight lines. You can deviate. You can go in circles or half circles and wander and eventually get back onto your path. And then you realize, okay, I'm back down to here. And at this point, you remember the half circle here, and you begin to wonder about, can you go round in a circle? And your life goes round in a circle as you go through the same thing over and over again. But then at a certain point, you realize, instead of going around in a circle, I want to go around in a spiral so that I can go through the same experiences, but I understand them better, or I understand them more, so I can do more with them. So you come back to this point, and then you continue on your path. And at this point, you're faced with the possibility of falling down again, but you jump over it and you continue on your way. And that's what you get from the tarot. And this an initial point here, I forgot to get out the Fool card, but when I was thinking about it this morning, I thought this can be the Fool, where you're about to step off a cliff. I don't know if I want to take the time to. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this point here, walking along, and then suddenly I know it's looking in the wrong direction, but it's like the idea that you can fall down, and maybe you do fall down to give you the experience so that you can then follow the rest of the journey, which means that when you get back to this point, you don't fall down because you know what you're doing. And this T is the Fool as well at the end. So that's the kind of thing. And the reason I'm showing you this is because somebody asked about keeping do I record readings? And I do. In the very beginning, I used to write the date, the moon position, the person's name, the question, and the cards that came up. And I just kept a record of it. I didn't spend that much time reviewing it or rereading it, but I don't know, it seemed to be important that I keep a record of it. Now I think about things and make notes, and I keep the notes for a while and then I get rid of them. But this kind of thing here could be done in a journal. So I mentioned before about getting up at 5 a.m. and sitting in the dark in the living room and making notes. So in the beginning, when I used to do that, I would write notes, but then it's dark and I can't see what I'm doing, so I would have writing over writing, so I switched to printing. And this is the kind of thing, this is my journal, sort of. And so I've got here, I don't know when I did this, but I wrote down, so I'm sitting at, I'm not particularly thinking about the tarot. I'm just sort of contemplating or something in the morning when I'm doing what I'm doing, because I've got the things I'm interested in. So at this point I wrote down, I am a gladiator, and then I wrote, I am gladiator. And I made a video about this where Russell Crowe in the movie doesn't say I am, when he's asked who he is, he doesn't say I am a gladiator. He says I am gladiator. As if there's a concept, a whole perfect idea of gladiatorness, and he is an expression of this complete idea. And I think that's the point that I want to make here. So that, what have I got here? Okay, instead of saying I have free will, maybe we should think I am free will. There is this idea, complete whole idea, that we control circumstances, and we are that, an expression of this perfect idea. And maybe that's how we should look at what's going on. Then the next bit I've got is, I am the circumstances that control me. So instead of thinking this idea, I am gladiator, instead of I am a gladiator, instead of thinking circumstances control me, I am the circumstances that control me. So we're not puppets. We're not on the receiving end of somebody or something else. We actually are the energizers or the creators of what happens to us, which made me, because I'm doing this thing about Hamlet, which made me think about Hamlet. And then I wrote down, how can we just be? Remember, Hamlet says, to be or not to be, that's the question. then how can we just be instead of trying to be something specific? So that's the kind of thing I write. So I can't remember who it was who asked. That's the kind of use I make of a journal. And it all relates because I also have this other digital notes where on the 22nd of April this year, I wrote down the Earth rotates and orbits. So it's always moving, and we should do the same because we're on Earth. So the Earth revolves around this itself, its own axis, and also revolves around the sun. What's our rotation? And maybe our rotation is changing focus. So we're looking in different directions. So if we get an idea for a card and we try to go deep with it, maybe we stall, maybe we get stuck. And our tendency might be to keep working at it, even when we don't quite know what we're doing. But instead, maybe we should be like the Earth. And instead of focusing, at a certain point, we move on, we change our focus, knowing that we're going to come back to it later. And maybe that will produce less stressful tarot studies. If we do it for a bit, then understand that we're on the Earth moves, the Earth changes its focus, we should change our focus as well. And that's the kind of thing that I write down in my tarot journal. It's not particularly the Queen of Cups means this. It's more thoughts that might be useful later or might be useful in some way eventually that will update or change or improve my understanding of the tarot and what's going on. Then Valentina wanted to know, she had this, she does readings, or she did this reading, but she wanted to know, and this can happen to all of us, about how if you get, somebody wants to know, is this relationship going to work? And you get the Three of Swords, and you don't really want to tell them, no, it's not going to work. Your heart is going to be pierced by swords and you're going to cry. We don't often want to be blunt with people, but at the same time, we're supposed to tell them what comes up. And so that's why I think it's important to start with getting the questioner to choose two numbers, one between 1 and 9 and one between 0 and 22. And you talk about what isn't, that's the thing is, you're starting with their input. And you talk about what they brought up, even though they may not consciously know what they're bringing up. You pick the numbers, then you tell them about the major trumps that go with those numbers. You're giving them an idea about where they're at and what their situation is. So, if somebody chooses, wrong way around. If somebody picks 9 and 12, let's say somebody wants to know, is this relationship going to work? And you say, okay, pick a number between 1 and 9, and they say 9, and then you say pick a number between 0 and 22, and they say 12. You say, okay, you just picked the Hermit and the Hanged Man. You want to know if the relationship's going to work. The Hermit is somebody who lives alone, and the Hanged Man represents suspension and delay. That's what you're telling you, because you picked the numbers 9 and 12. So that means that if I then I've lost it, the Three of Swords reversed, I can talk about sorrow and disappointment, because they already know deep down that the relationship needs to be more than it is, or that they know that they've met this person and they like them, but they know that we're not really meant for each other because they picked 9 and 12. So if you get the Three of Swords reversed, you can talk about sorrow and disappointment. And then maybe you say, okay, so be the Hermit, figure out why it didn't work, and then don't make the same mistake again. And with the Hanged Man, you've got to be patient. You're not going to meet Mr. Right or Miss Right tomorrow. So just relax. And that you're telling them good information based on what they gave you in the beginning. with 9 and 12. Whereas if somebody wants to know, am I going to have a good relationship, or is this relationship going to work, and you get they pick 2 and 5. The High Priestess and the Hierophant. Somehow these two cards go together. We've got the High Priestess, hidden knowledge, the Hierophant, outward knowledge maybe, but they're both kind of religious in their own way, maybe. So here we've got two people who get along with each other or who are on the same kind of page. So the relationship can prosper because you're sort of similar, but there's going to be a spiritual dimension or element that has to be honored, right? It's not just about sex. There has to be something else. Whereas if somebody chooses 3 and then they choose 4, you say, okay, you pick the Empress and the Emperor. They obviously go together. So the relationship looks like it's going to work because you're sort of, you like each other and you respect each other and you can appreciate each other's strengths, and you're sociable and friendly and optimistic and sunny, and you're willing to work hard, and you work hard at the relationship, and you'll put yourself out for in order to make the relationship more valuable, like the way the Emperor might behave, making something more valuable, making the empire more sustainable or stronger or better. So if you ask for a couple of numbers before a reading, then you get an idea of the state of mind or the condition the person is in at the time of asking the question. And then if they say, well, the relationship didn't work, and you say, well, you did pick the Hermit and the Hanged Man, I can't change your choice. So people are not going to get people. If you start with a couple of numbers and talk about Emperor things and Empress things in connection with the relationship, then you're giving the questioner ideas or more information about the situation that they find themselves in, so they're going to be able to handle better good news or bad news, the 5 of Cups. So that means with the 5 of Cups with these two, then if there's a disappointment, and because we've got 3 cups here that have been knocked over, and this happens to be number 3, right? So if the woman or the Empress of the two, the one who plays or who is playing the Empress role at that particular time, if they're disappointed, it's not the end of the world, because you can work through it, you can figure something out, you can be an emperor, you can take charge and figure out and delegate and run things efficiently. Whereas if the starting point where, I can't know if I can find them, the Hermit and the Hanged Man, and you get the 5 of Cups, then this means, okay, this relationship is not going to work, but you need to be patient, you need to look at what went wrong, you need to see what could work or how it could work better, looking at the 2 cups. But in the same way, we've got the Hanged Man is hanging upside down. He looks at the world 180 degrees different from other people, because this person's hanging upside down, most people are standing upright. And this person is looking at what's gone wrong. If they turn 180 degrees around, they're going to see what's valuable, what remains. So there's a similarity here between taking action or looking at things differently if you're the 5 of Cups and if you're the Hanged Man. And the last point was, people have sometimes said about choosing a card a day, and I don't think it's a good idea. By all means, write down a question. Is this relationship going to work? And pick a card. The Temple, well, I did that one already. Is it going to work? The 2 of Swords, maybe. You're going to see the good and the bad, but think it through, because you're sitting down. Is the relationship going to work? Same question, pick another card, and you get Strength reversed. It's going to make you feel weak, or you're going to feel that you're not strong enough to handle what's involved with the relationship. Is it going to work? Probably not, because it's a major trump and it's upside down. Same question, what's going to happen in this relationship, the tower? It's going to bust. Okay, so if you have a question like that and you keep picking different cards to answer the same question, you're going to become good at figuring out what a card means, rather than try to memorize the meaning and then fit it to the question. You know the question, you figure out how the card answers that question. And so 2 or 3 videos ago, I began with the Seven of Swords in the past and the Three of Cups being the next card. And so what I wanted to say is, how does the Seven of Swords handle or relate to the Three of Cups? So rather than this is you and what you go through is kind of separate from this, maybe what we do is we think, okay, how does the Seven of Swords handle or relate to or deal with the Three of Cups reversed? And then the composite or the changed version of the Seven of Swords, then the card beside it was, can't remember, it was, this next one was death. Maybe it was temperance, okay? So it's a bit like the combined, let's see, the next card was the Five of Cups. The combined Seven of Swords modified by the Three of Cups reversed then deals with the next card. And so you're not just taking the Seven of Swords in isolation and looking at these cards in isolation. You're kind of understanding or imagining how this could be changed to accommodate this, and how this new version of you handles the next card. So we've got the Seven of Swords can be that 2 things were set and done, but you've got 5 things you want to do, and you've got 3 cups upside down. Even though it's a different suit, 3 are upside down, 5 are here. It's as if most of the things don't work. Most of the plans you've got here don't work. And so you end up, instead of having 5 things you want to accomplish, maybe you've only got 2, or you certainly narrow down the possibilities. But that's because, whereas if the Three of Cups had been upright, then you've got 5 projects, all of them go well, or you've got reason to celebrate probably with all of them. So it's a different, and so you move forward more optimistically if it's this way than you would if you were. So this is like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because it's upside down. You regroup, you reorganize, and then you move forward lighter because you've ditched 3 projects, and you've got more of a focus because you've got 2 left instead of 5. And that means that when the card was here, we deal with it differently. Whereas if the first card had been temperance, so how does temperance deal with the Three of Cups reversed? And how does the Two of Swords deal with the Three of Cups reversed? So if you think of it, maybe there's no immediate answer, but at least you're sort of asking the question, and in time you'll get ideas and you'll get answers. So that was it. Thanks for watching. Today is Sunday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So all going well. I'll be back on Friday. But as I say, if I'm late, then it's because the builders are here. They probably won't be here this Friday or before then, because the electricity people have to come and spray paint on the ground to show where the power lines are, and the gas company has to come by and spray lines on the ground so that when they dig outside, they're not going to cut through cables or cut through pipes, and that they'll show up when they show up. Then the builders can come. So that's my tale of